Good morning and welcome to part 4 of our communication teaching in the middle of anger management and the journey to the other side of bitterness. Please go back and listen to the first 3 parts to this communication, and also go back and listen to the many weeks I've done anger management and the journey to the other side of bitterness. It's been a great series. I think it's been helpful for a lot of folks. We're going to continue with communication skills and the problems that happens with communication skills and the breakdown of those. Now we're going to talk about the message. Last week we talked about how we encode the message in words people could understand, and now it's the sending of the message. So in the email world or the texting world, we encode the message we want to send, and you hit the button, bing, send it. Now, simply enough, when you read that message, before you send it, stop and think, should I really send that message? Because there are a lot of comments on social media today that people should keep their mouth shut and keep their opinions to themselves, because they're doing nothing but stirring up things. All right. They're not a resource of peace, but they're a element of discord, and it could be a lot of different opinions. And so a lot of times we need to not send the message. But what about the spoken word? We have to stop and think about what we should say versus maybe just saying it. You could plan to say the right things. You can encode the message the way you should encode it or think it should be, but our delivery can be a problem. And sometimes it could be the problem in just the simple things in our message. It is the responsibility of the sender of the message to make sure that they can be heard. All right. So sometimes the message should be said in a place or area that your undivided attention is. And we're going to get into the channel next week, but even before we get into the channel, that sender should be responsible to make sure, is this the right time for the saying? To say it. All right. Do we want to bring this subject up in front of people that shouldn't be hearing it? Okay. Do we want to bring this subject up at the wrong time? All right. Are we sending the message at the timing we should? That's one of the things that causes problems in communication. There are times when individuals are tired or upset, and we just say, wait. I have seen, speaking of the issues of anger, I have seen that times where the message should be said but shouldn't be said at this point. And a lot of times when there's a lot of anger with couples therapy, I used to do this a lot and say, you all have to have safe things to say, well, time out. I'm asking if you will just table this conversation for just a half hour, or maybe tomorrow, so that we can think about what we said. Sometimes more is not better. Sometimes we have a little bit of communication and stop, keep your mouth shut, and now let that information kind of settle, so that emotions are not becoming very raw. And then what happens? One person says one thing and then another, and then the whole scripture about quick to listen, slow to speak is thrown out the window, and then we're not slow to become angry. We're very fast to become angry because of we didn't follow step 1 and 2. So when do we give the message is a very important thing. Make sure that, especially in messages that are very, very important and key information, that we give it. And sometimes we should give the message without anybody there, and sometimes it's important to give the message with somebody there. All right. They're called mediators. They're called counselors. They're called friends. And sometimes it's important to give certain messages when you have support of somebody that could help with that conversation. And I've been in the middle of a lot of things where I'd say, okay, but just let them finish talking first. And then I'm going to let you respond to that. But we want to let them be able to, because sometimes all the shouting and screaming, nobody's heard. So the communication problem could be the timing of the message, not what was needed to be said. 2 weeks ago we talked about that, not how we coded the message so that the person could understand the words coming out of our mouth, but maybe the timing of what's said. So when do we give the message itself? And that could be a real problem sometimes. So think about the timing of the message. There are a lot of other elements about the message that I want you to think about, but that's all I want to share in this segment, and that's what I want to share there. Next week we're going to talk about the channel. What could cause problems with the channel? Okay, thank you.